This is a Chaos Theory deck I brewed up. This uses London Library. There are two ways to use London Library basically. Firstly is to combine it with Scavenge, so London Library becomes a sort of permanent test run that costs the same amount of money to play as a test run, but sticks around on the board. The other way, which I'm using, is making use of both of London Library's abilities, which is one click to place your program on the board for free, and one click to take it back. And there is no other program in this game that combines better with London Library than Overmind, because it uses temporary counters. So you refresh these counters every turn, and if you're in a faction with LLDS processor, why not just go all the way and get a 2 or even 3 strength Overmind permanently on the board for the game. That sounds pretty sick. Everyone knows how powerful Ether is, and the ability to do that with Overmind and access cards at the end of your run, that is just crazy. So I'm definitely going to give this a shot. So that's your Breaker Suite explained. London Library and Overmind. The problem with that is that it costs 2 clicks each turn if that you want to run. One to place Overmind on the library and one to take it off. So to mitigate that, we have Autoscriptor, which increases number of clicks you have each turn to 3. Still, like a wild side, it's not very good, but given the efficiency of Overmind at strength 3, I'm going to do it. Now, this idea is not a new one. I've seen quite a few decks on Netrunner DB doing just this, and I'm not a big fan of most of them because they seem way too janky. Going all in with the janky factor of London Library by increasing the number of jank cards in the deck, playing lots of hardware and using Replicator to tutor them all, and Haley's ability. I think that's a prime example of decks trying to do too much, and as a result, exposing themselves to very big weaknesses. One of the biggest weaknesses of this deck is that it takes a very long time to set up. You need London Library, Autoscriptor, Overmind, etc. So I'm going to counteract this weakness by playing event-based economy, your standard prepaid economy. And I'm going to include a John Masanori as you see me install right now, because this allows me to run and draw cards at the same time. And you can guarantee successful runs with Overmind, because Overmind can break basically any ice in the game, as long as you have money, and I will have money with all these events. Now, a special shout here is that my opponent is playing Next Design, which fits in very well, because the entire point of this game, I want to test whether my deck can set up quickly enough against a Rush deck, and Next Design is the epitome of Rush. So as you saw, my opponent managed to score an ABT on turn 2, but had to give up 3 points of agendas into archives because he decided to trigger ABT. So it's now it's not even turn 4. I think it's turn 4. Right now it's turn 4, and he's already trying to get the second agenda out. So this is definitely a huge rush, and it's something that I can't really cope with. I'm not getting too many draw cards, and I haven't found my Overmind yet. So that's the problem with this deck. As I said, it can be very slow if you don't build around it being fast, and as a result, he gets an efficiency committee off, which is very bad news because that turns on shipment from Sansan. You can be sure he's playing that when you see efficiency committee scored, because otherwise they'll just play NAPD. Now here, he uses Jackson, which means that he's digging for his fast advance components, so he probably doesn't need to use that remote anymore. He's just going to fast advance everything. On the other hand, that's the bad thing about playing a deck that relies on Masanori and Autoscriptor. I couldn't even try to contest his remote to force him to waste money, because if I make a unsuccessful run, Autoscriptor is trash, and John Masanori will tag me, and you cannot go tag me because you rely on London Library. Now here, I found my Comet, and I immediately put the Comet to good use by modding in an R&D interface, which allows me to play a sure gamble off the back. So half of my deck, of my 40 cards, consists of events. More than half, in fact. So I am expected to be able to chain lots of events with Comet, and this is a very important factor in click compression, because I desperately need all the extra clicks I can get, because I'm spending lots of clicks on the Overmind engine. So now that I finally found all my combo pieces, I can begin running. I first start off on R&D. This deck primarily contests R&D. There's not much in the way of HQ pressure. He resists the next bronze against me, which I pay 0 credits to get through because Overmind's on strength 1. Moving on. He reses an Eli, which is strength 4, so I'll pay 3 credits, very cheap. Overmind counters are not considered as part of a currency because when they run out, you just bounce the Overmind back to hand. It's as simple as that. And because I'm playing in Chaos Theory, I have an extra 1 memory, along with 1 more from Comet. So 5 subroutines can be broken in any turn, which is quite a fair bit. I do have a Cyber Solutions mem chip somewhere in my deck, and that will bring the total to 7. And that should be more than enough for most purposes. So my R&D and HQ runs did not net me any agendas, but that's fine. Now I've shown him the threat of my deck, and I can block his R&D very hard. I just have to be careful of the Jackson Howard, because if he reshuffles his deck, he can potentially do nasty things and get his agendas. Now here I make a huge mistake. I should have trashed that Melange Mining Corp. Because I didn't trash it, he was able to combo it with Efficiency Committee. I forgot about that, allowing him to install and gain 7 in the same turn. Ugh. Well, I don't care. I'm still going for the R&D lock here. Breaking the Eli and the Bronze. And this time I'm actually knifing the Eli, so I don't have to deal with it anymore, because paying 3 credits is painful. Then I decide to run Archives to force him to use the Jackson and relock his R&D, but unfortunately he shows me a 2 subroutine ice in the form of Next Silver, bringing my Overmind down to 0 counters, rendering me unable to run R&D again to lock it. So there is a good chance he might have popped some agendas back on top of R&D. That can't be helped. That was a miscalculation on my part. So yeah, this is basically how the deck works at its peak. Every turn, you have 3 clicks to make runs and play events. And some of these events allow you to run at the same time, such as Dirty Laundry. Dirty Laundry is a very high value event in this deck. Unfortunately here, I did not have Overmind installed when I played my Diesel. My Diesel draws into the Dirty Laundry, and I couldn't Dirty Laundry R&D, so my only route was to Dirty Laundry HQ to get the Comet bonus. Then I go for the R&D lock. Again, R&D interface is proving to be very powerful here. Seeing 3 cards each run is huge, and I do find a Vitruvius off that. So now we are both at match point. I need to deny him of agendas, otherwise I will lose the game, and I'll do so by locking R&D very hard. Too bad I don't have a medium at my disposal. This deck cannot run medium, not just because of influence, but also because it takes up 1 memory which I desperately need for Overmind to be truly effective. So R&D interfaces will have to do. Hopefully he cannot dig through my R&D lock. I'm starting to run a bit low on credits, but I have no worries because I'm just 1 short gamble away from a lot of money. Now some of you might be thinking, does prepaid voice pad anti-synergize with Comet? Initially my answer to this was yes. I'm not a fan of people swapping, as I mentioned, the Econ engine in prepaid Kate for straight up Haley Comet event-based economy. It doesn't work, because if you play 2 events in the same turn, they will both compete for the same prepaid voice pack credits, and you're not going to get the fullest use of your prepaid voice pads. But in this deck, it's different, because I'm running quite a few zero-cost events, such as Diesel and Modded, events that will help me draw more cards to play with Comet, events that will help me to install more hardware that will get me more value out of my runs. Basically, I am able to play 2 events in 1 turn, and maximize the number of prepaid voice pad recurring credits that I use, for the most part. So something like this situation here is not ideal for Comet. Gamble into Lucky Find, because you are paying 8 credits to play both events, and prepaid voice pad doesn't supply you that many credits. So something better would be, say, Sure Gamble into Diesel, or a Modded into Lucky Find. Something like that. So that is more ideal. Or Vamp into Sure Gamble. That works as well. Unfortunately, my opponent's way richer than me at this point, so Vamp is not an option. Yep. So the game continues, and he does find a Jackson Howard, which again worries me. Jackson Howard is the bane of my life. And he uses Jackson to reshuffle the agenda. So the good news is, now I have full R&D lock on him because Jackson is gone. The bad news is, if he overdrew with Jackson last turn, and found an agenda during the overdrawing, I can't get to it. My initial iteration of this deck contained legwork instead of ramp as a response against Jinteki RP, but it looks like legwork seems to be the right choice after all, because I know there are agendas in his hand and I can't get to it. In the meantime, I play my money cards because I desperately need money, and now I really want to run out his HQ. With one click left, I'm going to run HQ and trash my Overmind at the end of my turn with London Library. I do not find the agenda I need, and that's game, because he did overdraw and find it, and I didn't have the legwork to fetch it. I was okay with losing my Overmind because I knew that he probably had the game 1 in 5 shot in his hand, and I did have another Overmind in my hand to install anyway. So yes, my deck failed against his rush deck, even though I was trying to improve my chances against fast advance. Unfortunately, it is quite ironic because theoretically Overmind should allow me to easily get past his defenses. I don't have to assemble a Fractor, Decoder, and a Killer just to get past every single one of his ice. A single Overmind can plow through all his ice. That's in theory. In practice, it takes way too long to set up. Because I'm trying to maintain a slim deck, I cannot afford consistency, which means no test runs, no scavengers, no luxury cards that will help me fetch my Overmind on demand. I just have to hope that I draw into it, and this game, even though I drew into it at a good time, I wasn't able to completely lock him down. That's a pity. I was hoping the burst nature of my deck would help me in matchups like this, but apparently the corp rushing was too much for me to handle. I think I incurred too much overhead in the setting up of my hardware. I'm hoping to reduce that. I'm not very sure how. Maybe I just need more experience playing with this deck. If you have any ideas for me? Do leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and happy night running.